ago when I looked at the readings for this Sunday, I was really excited. Excited for what that first reading was about and the context, and excited because we have a baptism. And I think they really fit beautifully together. Let me first ask, when you listen to that first reading, did anybody hear an echo for someplace else in the Christian scriptures? Nobody? Or you're just shocked? No? The Magnificat, yes, Mary's song of praise. If you put the two side by side, you'd be amazed at the similarities. This is Hannah's song of praise to God because she has conceived. That's the template that Luke used in composing Mary's song of praise. Let me tell you a little bit about the background to what's happened in this reading from Samuel. Hannah is married to a man by the name of Elkanah, and they have been trying to have a child for some time, and it hasn't happened. Now, Elkanah also has another wife, and she has conceived, but Hannah can't. And the other wife is really taunting Hannah, and she feels terrible. The conventional wisdom within Judaism at the time was that if you are barren, the empty womb it's like the death of 1,000 people. It's all the generations of children's and children's children's and children's children's children that will never be born. It was a failure to meet the first mitzvah, the first law, increase and multiply. Fill the earth. So Hannah is devastated. She goes to the temple to pray, to pour out her heart to God. And she's crying, she's weeping, she's really distraught. She's at the temple at the time with Eli. And Eli thinks she's drunk. And he goes and says to her, "Get out of here, take your drunkenness someplace else." And she says to him, "I'm not drunk, but I'm really in pain." And so she tells Eli about her pain. And he recognizes the mistake that he's made. He consoles her and says, "God has heard your prayer. Go home. Go home. God has listened." She goes home and she conceives and bears a son. Anybody know what her son's name is? One of the icons of Israel. Second, maybe, only to David. Samuel. Samuel. What's really interesting is that the rabbis talk about 3 virgin births. 3. Isaac, Samuel, John Baptist. There's something that all 3 have in common. In all 3 cases, the mother has difficulty conceiving. You remember Abram and Sarah? They're both past the age in which Sarah can even conceive. She's past menopause. But she conceives and bears a son, as promised by God, Isaac. Now, if you were to ask the rabbis, well, are you saying that husband and wife never had intercourse? They'd shake their heads. That'd be the farthest thing from their mind. That's not what they meant by virgin birth. What they meant was, let me come back a second. That statement about the origin for Isaac, Samuel, and John the Baptist is made not chronologically, not in the beginning. It's after they have seen who this person is, seen how this person lives, and what the focal center of their life is. The focal center of the life of each of those 3 is God. They lived their life out of God. They lived their life out of the call that they experienced from God. And so what the writers are saying when they go back and compose the birth narrative is that this is a person, not only as he grew up and you saw that he was focused and centered in God, this happened right from the very beginning. Right from the beginning. This person has always been in the heart of God and living out of that heart. We know, when it comes to the birth narratives of Jesus, that same process was in effect. Matthew and Luke tell the birth stories. But what we know is that their gospel originally began in chapter 3, which begins with Jesus' public ministry. When the gospel was done, they went back and wrote their prologue to say, what we have experienced in Jesus, the God that Jesus has given flesh to, began right from the beginning. From the moment of his conception, he was in God, of God, centered on God. That to me is really exciting. Really exciting. It asks the question, at least for me, do I try to live centered in God? Do I try to live listening to the voice of God, the call of God in my life, and respond to it the best way I can? I said that at 8:30, my dream would be that when I die, somebody will compose a piece of literature that says, I was a virgin birth. That's not going to happen. I should be so centered. I wish I was. I'm not. I'm a work in progress. But it does seem to me to invite all of us and to say to all of us that each of us has that possibility, that potential, to live in connection with God in ways in which we haven't dared to imagine. That kind of life, I have to say, is only possible when it's done in community. You cannot do it in isolation. I'll go so far as to say it's impossible to be a Christian, or a Muslim or a Jew, and to do it in isolation from the community. The community is absolutely essential. Yeah. It's absolutely essential. In Mark's gospel, the oldest gospel, before Jesus does anything, after his baptism, he goes into the desert, he's tempted, he struggles, comes back, and the first thing he does, do you know what it is? Anybody know? He calls people to follow him. He picks people to be in close relationship with him. Even Jesus says to himself, knows, I can't possibly do this on my own. It's just not possible. So he calls people together. That's who we are. We've been called together. We've been called together to follow in the footsteps of Jesus, making the household of God more visible, more real, more tangible, more experiential in our homes, in our neighborhoods, in our city. That's what St. Paul's is really all about. That's what the Diocese of Niagara is really all about. That's what the whole institutional church really needs to be about. And this morning, we have a baptism. Now, there's all kinds of things that float around about baptism, what it does, what it doesn't do. And I would suggest, and feel free to disagree with me, you wouldn't be the first, I don't think it's a free ticket to anything. But it is a ticket to, it is an initiation in, it is a welcoming into a community. Into a community that has a way of living, a community that has a focus, a community that has a mission outside these walls. And the commitment that the parents will make is to the best of their ability to raise Rosie in a way that she will understand what that vision is, that she will want to follow in Jesus' footsteps and follow his example and do what he did. But they can't do it alone. And so that involves us. And so part of all this celebration is going to be our commitment to each other, to the family, to Rosie, to make possible a dream that would seem impossible. Jesus made the dream of God for this world and its people a reality. He gave it flesh so that we could see it and experience it. And we're going to try to do the same thing together, because we can't do it alone. Let's continue to celebrate, and let's continue to live out that vision and that dream in our lives.